Hi there, I'm Katrina,
And I'm Ed.
and we're here to start this series called Nutrition and Emotion. And so today is the first episode, so we're going to start with talking about anxiety and digestion. So, how many of you suffer with, anxiety because of the narc abuse that you've been in? And as an outcome of that, how does it affect your digestion? You know, um, so we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to look at how it affects the chakras, because I help people overcome abuse through working through the chakras to create clearance there. And also how the digestion works, and when we are stressed, what does that do to our body, right? So we're going to take turns and let this be free flowing, and if we make mistakes, hey, we're only human. So let's start off with talking about anxiety. So do you want to share your experience of being?
I can say that although I do have very, very slow digestion, which I was born with, that's just a problem that I have. I have lived with someone who was, I'm pretty sure, a narcissist. Looking back at it, she was extremely demanding. Everything had to be her own way all the time, and if it wasn't, then she really tried to wreck things for other people. So it was kind of like she'd never got out of the 2-year-old stage, even though she was in her late 20s. And one of her favourite tricks, because she abused food, and she was either a binge eater or she wasn't bulimic or anorexic, but I think she had been anorexic, and she was used to making herself vomit to get rid of things that she'd eaten. She told me once that she'd lived on, I think it was 10 apples a day and a bag of peanuts or something. Then she vomited every 3 o'clock if she would go out. She'd make an excuse to go to the toilet in her workplace, get rid of it all, and she'd live on that. That was it, I think. Or maybe a banana in the morning. So she was used to really misusing food and not looking at it as proper nutrition, as anything like the rest of us look at it. So her thing was to try and take away people's enjoyment of their food if she wasn't feeling good, which was quite frequently. And so she would wait till everybody had sat down, and then the anxiety would be building, and she would disturb the meal, or she would find some way of picking an argument or something like that. So that, over time, of course, leads to a lot of gastric issues. It leads to wind and bloating to start with, but of course it can lead to ulcers if it goes on. It can lead to all sorts of really horrible things. People are trying to make themselves digest, but in order to digest, you need to be at peace. You need to be relaxed. You need to be enjoying your food, looking forward to it, even if it's quite plain. And you need to be able to breathe normally in and out. If you're tight here because something's about to happen, or someone's making a scene or being angry, you will not digest your food, and you'll notice that the next time you try and go to the toilet, because it won't be as easy, it won't be as smooth. I'm sure you've had experience of that.
Yeah. Awful. So in my situation, I was married to a narc for 14 years, and being with him was like, as you all know, fight or flight. So you're sitting there on edge, worrying what's going to happen, even though nothing happens sometimes. But mostly it does happen, and it makes you feel very, very uncomfortable with yourself. And how, if you're uncomfortable with yourself and you don't know what's going to happen from one moment to the next, obviously that's going to affect digesting your food. So when we eat, we need to be totally relaxed, almost like as relaxed as you would when you're meditating. You just need to be totally calm. And I was not in that place at all. My eczema, I suffer with a lot of eczema anyway. My eczema flared up so much. I had rashes all around my eyelids, my eyebrows, my upper lip was really swollen and red, and my lower lip, and obviously all down my neck and stuff like that. And it wasn't just the eczema, but I noticed in my bowels, I was highly constipated. I was retaining all this tension. So like Ed was saying, the digestion doesn't work properly. And so therefore, when you're eating, not only are you eating, but you're eating really fast. So that's not good.
You're not digesting it properly.
Exactly. And then when you're eating, you're gulping probably a lot of air with it. So I suffered with a lot of flatulence. And it was horrible. It used to make me feel really tight, knotted experiences in my stomach. So if any of you are suffering from what we've just mentioned, please feel free to comment below, because we would like to hear from you and hear what you're struggling with. to do with anxiety and digestion, because they are really connected. And what we eat and how we eat, which we'll do in other episodes when we'll talk about what we eat and stuff like that too. But this one is, we're focusing on the anxiety. So if you're anxious and you eat when you're anxious, is not going to go through you properly, and which means that the nutrients are then not going to feed into your building blocks in your body, and therefore you can imagine the repercussions and other consequences of health problems that then will accumulate after a while, and even after you've left your narc. You may still experience these emotions too, because they stay damaged.
They're associated.
Exactly.
When you sit down to a meal, you're waiting for that disruption.
Yeah,
so that's going to make you anxious.
Exactly.
Even though there's no one there, it's like the association thing.
Yeah, and even though current partner, even though I'm with him and he's wonderful to be with, I still worry sometimes, because sometimes he sits down to a meal and he's not feeling very happy in himself for whatever reason. It's never as bad as it was with my ex, obviously, but you feed off those emotions, and because you've experienced that stuff that happened in the past, these memories come back to you, and they're actually stored in your chakras, they're stored in your body. So you're going to experience that negativity, and that emotion is all going to come up again when you're just even trying to digest your food, and it seems and it's a really hard thing to break from. It's a really hard experience.
Deassociate.
Exactly, deassociation.
Yeah.
So this is where chakra healing comes in now. So when you have problems with your gut, it's obviously connected to the manipura, which is the stomach, which is your abs and areas there. But what's bringing that up is actually fear, and fear is based in the root chakra. So there's actually a lot of chakra work you can do that will help you release this trauma, which will then help you with your digestion, which will then help you with dealing with these negative emotions that come about from your past experiences and memories that you have stored. So it's about being able to clear the past, and I really mean clear the cache, clear that cache from the past and move on from there. So I really do suggest that chakra healing will help you with that. In terms of what we've got for strategies and recommendations, so if you are someone who's highly anxious and you are still maybe living with your narc, and you want to try and get over that feeling of like, tight tummy, or really bad constipation or diarrhea maybe for some people, because I know a lady who suffered with IBS as a consequence to being brought up by her narc, and so today she's probably still suffering too, and that's really, really awful. And a lot of the stuff that we suffer digestively is all tied up to emotion.
Actually, I think that's true of my mum. That's only just struck me.
Yeah.
Is that she has very poor digestion. I often used to say that's where I get it from. Maybe it is, but she was brought up by a compulsive alcoholic, and she never knew if she was going to be given a caress or a slap. She never knew from one minute to the next how that woman would be feeling. And so, meal times, I should think, were very disturbed. And in fact, she ended up cooking the meal half the time. She was only about 7 or 8 at the time. So yes, all that negative emotion is feeding into your attitude to digestion, and she still struggles with constipation and with bloating and things like that to this day. And that's long. That situation's long since gone, but the association's still there.
The association is there, and association. When we prepare a food or prepare a meal to give to people around us, or even to eat ourselves, what we're preparing and what we're feeling emotionally is connected to that food. So when you're eating something that you've prepared because you've been stressed, there's karma, there's stuff that goes into that food. You might think, this is a bit woo-woo, whatever, but actually it is a proven fact that whatever energy that you are giving off, the aura, the energetic body, the subtle body, it actually goes into the food that we eat. So if you're preparing food during a stress time, you're feeling really, really anxious, you need to step back, because by doing stuff that you're going to feed yourself during a high anxiety moment, you need to try and get yourself out of that anxiety. So, all right, we've said all the problems that we have with anxiety, digestion, how they're all connected. What can we do? What are the strategies that we do? Ed, have you got any strategies at the moment that you can think of?
I was hoping you'd tell me.
Okay. Well, I've been.
Apart from leave them.
Yes, number one, leave them. But if you can't leave them and they're still with you, and obviously, that's a difficult one, you must do your best to try and get out of that anxiety bubble. So what I used to do is I used to go to another room before I prepared food. And I would just sit with myself just for a few moments to get that deep breathing intense and into the kind of almost like a meditation, but just breathing in and out. So it's just like really slowing it down. And then every breath intake that you take in becomes slower, and every exhale you exhale becomes longer. It calms the stomach. And so, yeah, exactly. And then once you get to that point where you feel relaxed, then go down, put some nice music on, music that you don't associate with stress. Music that, for me, I love jazz. There's always jazz going on.
Music.
Absolutely,
soft, quiet
soft,
jazz,
quiet, easy listening jazz. Maybe a bit of Kenny G. That's a bit too easy sometimes. But I like Miles Davis or something like that, just to really, really chill out, or maybe some Ella Fitzgerald. But you've got your own music. Sometimes maybe you want something high energy because that's the kind of person that you are. But when we are stressed, and because stress and anxiety, it elevates more when there's higher, faster music playing. That sense actually elevates more. So you do want to bring your heart rate down. So you need to think about stuff that is going to be calming. Sometimes I think about a little cat's face. That really calms me down. Anything like that. So take yourself away from the situation. You want to be away from the situation, and you want to think of nice things, like what Julie Andrews says in The Sound of Music, her favorite things. That does help. And bring your heart rate down, however that is, whether it's to do a short meditation, or whether that is to just sit quietly by yourself and take 5 breaths in and 5 breaths out. Whatever it is, you choose how you want to do that. Come down and then play some nice music and make your dinner. If he's interfering or she's interfering and making life difficult for you, you just say that, look, do you want to eat or not? Because this is my space. These are my boundaries. This is what I'm doing. If you want to eat, you have to deal with this, like I have to deal with your nonsense noise and all this sort of stress that you give me. Create your space, create your boundaries, stand up and be clear. If you're scared of him, then try your best to get out of the relationship. That would be the best thing to do. If you're not able to get out, then create a boundary within yourself, create your circle, your space, that you can give yourself self-love and you can give yourself a peace of mind. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. I mean, the other thing to do, I suppose, is always stagger meal times. I know that some narcs are probably not like you doing that, but you could always say, well, I don't feel comfortable eating with you. There's your meal. You're eating that. I'm eating mine later. And, there are other ways of just saying, well, you're making that point of saying, I'm sorry, that's ruining my meal. And if that person knows they are and they're getting pleasure out of that, it might be a good idea to say, well, I'm going to eat at another time.
Yeah, make a point to eat in another room, maybe.
Or another room at another time.
Yeah. And you have to you have to be very clear about your boundaries. Perhaps it might help to list the things down of things that you certainly can't cope with, especially coming up to mealtime, and see if you can separate those from your actual mealtime. So find a way within yourself. Anyway, that's it from us. Absolutely. I would love to hear from you. This is actually being recorded, so we are going to put this up for 4 p.m. GMT on every Sunday. On Facebook, the Recovering from Narcissistic Abuse page. And I'm hoping to then use the same video and put it up onto our YouTube page, which we are in the midst of trying to create at the moment. So for now, comment below, like the video, and share. Get us out there. We want to share our knowledge with other people, because this is an area that a lot of people are suffering, particularly with the pandemic and the lockdown. They're stuck with their narc, so we need to help other people, and we need to share the love. So thank you for listening. Take care. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.